anytime you change quarterbacks from a Hall of Famer to a Hall of Famer, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, which is a funny quote. Even if you accept the premise that both Rodgers and Carr are Hall of Famers, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. Is a funny line to add anytime you switch from a Hall of Famer to a Hall of Famer. Because if you switch from a Hall of Famer to a scrub, it's also going to be an adjustment. But
I did not see him say this, but I would imagine if we found the video, he was pretty serious when he said this. I don't think he's joking around in his mind. Now, do I truly believe like if he had to, like for his NFL career was on the line and like fill out a ballot, does he truly believe this? Or is this just a good reflection of one thing the Raiders have really lacked? It feels like is just super, super high-level guys. And it's always fallen on Derek, their owner, all the shit going on. It's like they hire this female president, and everyone's thinking like, did they just do this to get everyone off the scent? Like that's the first reaction. I'd like, God, look at the Raiders. It's like, did the Raiders just do this to try to get everyone to not think Mark Davis was sexually assaulting people, screaming at people, whatever the hell was going on? I mean, they just fired a bunch of people. There's always something going on with the Raiders, right? And Derek, and you and I have always defended him this, like, he has been underpaid for what he's had to carry on and off the field for that organization. Hell, just last year is a great example. Ruggs killed. Immediately Derek talks. Gruden fired. Immediately Derek talks. Right? It's just always Derek. It's Mark's nowhere to be found. Throw some stupid-ass statement on Twitter like anyone gives a fuck. Like, no, Mark. Derek, the mic's in front of Derek and their interim coach. It's always him answering the bell. He is a high-level guy, and he's dealt with a lot. From a football standpoint, he's not even close. I mean, and everyone acknowledges that. I do wonder, though, if you just add Davante to the mix of just like, he's just kind of an uplifter. Now, he's biased. It's like he's known the guy for a decade. It's one of his best friends. But I do think it also reflects of like, they don't have a lot of high-level guys historically the last 20 years. They just do not. They have been one of the laughing stocks, and part of that is because coaches and players have struggled for a lot of the period of times. And now it feels like, Hunter Renfrow, they've added some. Max Crosby seems like a good stalwart of your organization, and he did a really good job. Remember last year in some of the tumultuous times, speaking out. Waller, incredible story. Davante's on a whole nother level because he is a Hall of Fame player right now. Like Davante's going to the Hall of Fame, and he's just kind of an uplifter. Like that was my take. Like it's an LOL. Like give me a fucking break. But it's also like you traded a lot. Two teams traded a lot. One got Tyreek Hill and the other got Davante Adams. Tyreek feels like he just wanted to be back. No state income tax, Florida, hanging out with his boys, podcasting. Davante feels like I'm on a mission to fucking dominate with this new team and show everyone with my guy and with this franchise. And I am now, like, let's face it, who's the most famous guy on the Raiders right now?
I mean, Josh? Davante?
Yeah, from a player standpoint, I think you could argue it's Davante Adams. He's the best player on the Raiders for sure. The last time the Raiders, think about this. The last time the Raiders did a crazy-ass move, they added Antonio Brown, who was immediately the best player. I don't think he ever played a snap past, OTAs. I don't think he ever did it. One thing, and I might have done a couple things in training camp. Can't quite remember, but like that's what,
I think there were some videos of him in training camp on the field.
Maybe you're right. And then he stormed off and he quit. Oh yeah, because the helmet thing. Then once the feet got good, then the helmet wasn't good. But that to me is the Raiders, and Davante is the polar opposite of that. Davante comes from a high level organization. He's actually the least drama of his Hall of Fame combination of him and Aaron Rodgers. Like he was the consistent one, and I just think that because it's not true. Like Derek's not even remotely close to being a Hall of Famer, right? He's not even on that trajectory.
He's not on that trajectory. I do agree with that. But so a couple things
but he's got a lot of career left. He's 30 years old.
And I think that's part of what Davante is saying, right? Because if you really challenged Davante, if somebody in that interview, it was with Josina Anderson and Bryant McFadden, if they'd stopped him and said, hey, hold on. Are you calling Derek Carr a Hall of Famer, right? If they'd said that to him, I would guess some of Davante's answer would have been, we'll just wait and see what we're about to do. We got one of the best. We got a top 3 offensive play caller now for our head coach. I'm here now, and we're going to get the most out of Derek. I think he's got it in him. Now we're going to go out there and prove it, right? That would be kind of his answer, which to your point is like you're pumping up your own guy. You are being an uplifter. It's an organization that historically on the field, but definitely behind the scenes, has built from within. That's the way you say it when it's a good organization. When it's a bad organization, you say, yeah, they never go outside the organization. They just promote from the inside because you want everyone to keep the skeletons, right? Like in-house, keep the circle tight.
Yeah, it's one thing to like.
It's funny, it works both ways. Like good organizations, they promote, like Dabo Sweeney, they just promote from within, man. They got a great thing going, right? McVay,
Well, it's like, yeah, it's like from the mailroom to CEO. Well, does the CEO Jeff Bezos or was the CEO Mark Bedane? You know, it's like
exactly. So I think it's a pretty part of them not having anybody else to really kind of represent the organization than Derek is you haven't added guys from the outside who come in with equity, with pelts on the wall, with experience, and have chosen to be there. And by choosing to be there, they send a message to everybody else that this is a place that is up to the standards of a person whose standards are really high, right? When Davante Adams says, I want to be there, we go, holy shit, he's played with Rodgers for the Packers, one of the most stable organizations in the sport. And he's
kicked ass, won games.
He knows what it takes. Josh McDaniels, the highest standards of the highest standards, the New England Patriots, one of the greatest franchises in the history of sports. He was there through almost all of it. He's saying, this is where I want to be. That sends a message to everybody, right? It's hard when it's only people from the inside going, no, we're good. We go, yeah, you would say that. You're on the inside. But when guys from the outside come, I think it sends a message. Now they have to deliver, but Davante, would Davante be there if him and Derek weren't good friends? I don't know. Maybe he would, but
like if they're, let's just pick a rant. Like if Kirk Cousins was their quarterback,
yeah,
I would say probably not.
Right. So I think part of,
but who cares? Like Derek was his buddy and he's there, right?
No. To me, the reason I care is like, if Davante Adams wouldn't be there, if not for Derek Carr, then Derek Carr gets credit for being a guy that one of the best receivers in the NFL, who's also a high level guy, wants to play with, right? Josh McDaniels, if Josh McDaniels took that job in part because Derek's the quarterback, Derek gets some credit for Josh McDaniels going, I want to coach this guy. So from that standpoint,
because again, Davante and Derek haven't played together since the fall of 2013. So he has maintained a friendship from basically the fall of 2013 up until, whatever, early
Davante's watched
2022.
And Davante's watched his game since then, right?
Yeah, like it's to sustain a friendship in situations like this. Like how many times around football do you guys play together in college? But over time, like, yeah, that guy wasn't as good, or he might still be my friend. I wouldn't mortgage my paycheck on that, right? He truly believes that, and he's seen it. Like it doesn't get that much better than Aaron Rodgers, and even Davante's not dumb enough. Like, let me rephrase that. Davante's not like too biased enough with Derek to realize how great he's had it with Aaron, right? Like, I mean, he's thinking about the division he's in. He's seen firsthand the other teams, right? Like he's been in, the Ritz, the PJs of flying. Yeah, it's gone pretty smoothly. Now, he deserves a lot of credit too, but I'm just saying, at his position, you can work as hard as you can master the craft. You need the guy to get you the ball, and that guy got on the ball literally right in his hands every fucking time. And I think he believes Derek can do that. Not long ago, and Aaron, Aaron's buddies with this guy too, but Davante's very close with him. Derek's close with him because they're all kind of intertwined. James Jones used to call this guy Aaron Rodgers kind of light, Jr. Now, obviously that hasn't come to fruition, but Derek can make throws to make Davante look great. But you talk about pressure earlier on, Mahomes, those guys. I do think there's a lot of pressure. Like, there's no pressure on Davante. Like, we know he can get open on anyone in the league. There's a lot of pressure on Derek to get this done. And I know the contract didn't guarantee him that much, but he's not going anywhere for a couple years. But Davante's got to keep looking like a star, and that's not on Davante. It's on Josh a little bit because he's the coordinator, but I've seen Josh coordinate. Like, it works. There's a lot of pressure on Derek Carr.
Well, I think I agree with you, and I think part of
in a division that's hard,
in a division that's really tough. Part of the Derek Carr discussion for several years, the argument that goes back and forth is you can often say, like, look at this organization. How can we can't blame him for everything, right? And now a lot of the excuses that have been legitimate, sometimes excuses are legitimate reasons. And I think a lot of times with the Raiders, they've been legitimate reasons. He has been, on the balance, a net positive for the organization by a major wide margin, right? He's been one of the best things, the most consistent things the Raiders have had since they drafted him. One of the best decisions they've made since his draft year was drafting him.
If he would not have existed and they just would have ran through random quarterbacks, they would have consistently drafted in the top 2 or 3 every
They'd be
single
worse
year.
off had they not drafted Derek Carr.
Way worse off. Way worse off.
But now they've got him the thing that everyone has kind of hoped they would get him.
I think there's a difference too. Like Jimmy, for example, is very reliable as a human. He's tough. You know he can lead a really good team. He does not like have the physical characteristics of Derek. And I think part of the reason I think Derek frustrates some people is like physically he is pretty gifted, right? His arm, his athletic ability.
He's an elite NFL gift quarterback. Maybe not tier 1. I would say he's tier 2. I mean, his arm.
Well, like, he's way more talented than the Cousins, than the Dax, than a lot of guys making 40 plus million. He has a way better arm than Deshaun Watson, but now like it's here. You got Josh, Waller, Renfro, Davante, time to shine. And you can go, well, the offensive line. Well, I've saw a lot of good quarterbacks overcome questionable offensive line play. Now, if it's horrendous, worst offensive line in the league, like I'm not putting that on him. But if it's middle of the pack, like there's no like he doesn't have a couple great guards. Well, fuck Peyton Manning, you can't name the majority of his guards. Like it's part of being once you start getting 40 million, Peyton could. But that's part of being a great quarterback. Like, and that's part of Josh. I'm actually pretty. I think the last year the NFC West was awesome. I think the AFC West is just you can't tell me a game of one of the 4 matchups of playing each other, and I'm like, I gotta watch this thing.
I know.
Raiders Broncos, Chiefs Chargers, Chargers Broncos, Raiders Chiefs. It's just big time football.
It is.
With a ton of pressure, everybody. And the least to lose, just given their equity, the Chiefs are they've been at 4 straight AFC championships. They went to multiple Super Bowls. They've won the division 7 straight times. I'm not saying it won't be disappointing if they are the 7th wild card or somehow miss the playoffs, but they have just done the most over the last decade, right? If any of the other 3 teams miss the playoffs, it's a disaster, right? No way around it.
Well,
it
you think 2 of them could fire their coaches conceivably, right? Denver or the Chargers could fire their coach if they miss the playoffs.
Raiders would not.
But
Chiefs obviously would not.
I mean, the Chiefs are the only organization where nothing would really change.
Yeah, nothing.
It depends how Derek looks. Maybe they, I don't know. Nothing.
I think at minimum he's getting 2 years.
I don't think anything's changing with them either. But
if I tell you Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback for 15 years, he's been basically 8, 9 years now. I think it's 9. He's going into year 9 probably. Which seems crazy. I mean, he's been playing, 5 years at Fresno State. Like this guy's been playing football now, pretty like his career's like 3-year-old anymore. Is like if I tell you he's going to be on the Raiders for 15 years, like you would probably tell me like they have some success these next couple of years, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just counting up his years. Year 9.
Going into year 9.
Going in year 9. Yeah.
So him and Jimmy G going into year 9. That's a long career. And obviously Derek's a lock to get to 15 years. A lock, right? Because he's got 2 more years with the Raiders. He would be a starter for someone else. Like Derek Carr is going to be a 13, 14-year starter. Worst case scenario. If you were a betting man, you'd say, well, if he stays healthy, things go relatively well. Is he a 16, 17-year NFL starter?
His skills will age well, right?
Yeah.
Think about this. He was 3rd in the MVP voting his 3rd year in the NFL.
Say what you want about Reggie McKenzie, and he had a lot of misses. If you get a 15-year NFL starter in the 2nd round, that is as good of a pick as you can make in the NFL, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo is a fantastic pick. Derek Carr blows it out of the water. He started every game since he showed up. And he honestly, beside a broken ankle, he doesn't miss any time, right? He hurt his back and he missed a couple games, and he pulled the what's it called? The one game that the word I struggle to say, groin.
Oh, his groin.
But other than that, like Derek has been very, very durable. It's not one of those where you're always missing time. Like ultimately, Jimmy, you're just like, well, how many games he really played? I mean, Derek's going to rack up a lot of NFL games. It's going to be one of those like Derek played in 275 NFL games when his career ends.
He's missed 2 starts plus that playoff game. 2 regular season starts, and we'd have to go back and look. Well, I
Because
guess
he
he
technically
missed.
didn't miss the Charger game that he got injured because he started that game, right?
He missed the last game of the 16 season. That was the one he got hurt in, right? Or he got hurt at the end of that.
He got hurt in the Colts
15th
game. Then he missed the Broncos game when McGloin looked like the worst quarterback you've ever seen.
I thought he was going to pull it off that day, John.
That was a massacre. I was watching a lot of Raider football.
Post game live, John MIDDLEKAUFF, another lifetime. And then he missed a game in 17. That was it.
It's just we were on the Olympic Club yesterday playing with the Healy's. I mean, Matt Healy, 60-year-old, best golfer I've ever seen. His son Drew, I think, listener to the podcast, like I said, mentioned that growing up he was a basketball player and played all through high school because I asked him how long he'd been playing golf. He said just focus on it lately, but he's not a bad player either. He said he always had ankle problems. And then we started talking about Steph Curry. And it is just, there are times in people's career, like some guys are just durable their whole career, right? Like Eli Manning. You just never really get hurt. Phillip Rivers, the occasional injury, but like, you just never even think about it. And then there are just some guys that have these injury, like, is this injury going to derail the guy's career? And it just never does. Somehow Curry overcame it. Derek had that devastating ankle injury, came back and it was a little weird early on. And now just the last 4 or 5 years, just been a normal player. You don't even think about it. Just every game, Derek Carr is going to be there. And there is something to be said. And this is why ultimately the Niners had to pivot off Jimmy. When I invest in my quarterback, I never, ever, besides some freak deal, have to worry, like, is this guy going to stay healthy? Like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is the Vikings quarterback. He never misses a fucking game. It doesn't even cross their mind, right? Kirk Cousins is going to start every single game. Good or bad, I don't know. Say what you want about Russell Wilson, just every game. It takes a freak mallet finger, or even Dak, like, breaks his ankle, right? But other than that, like, every game, I need to be able to rely on you.
This was the first year Russell missed a start. First
ever start this year, mallet finger. And then came back because, what was it? Did he pray to God and have the sun on his finger or something special? What was the thing? 23 hours a night of rehab.
That's right. 23 hours a day rehab.
Whatever it was just,
if I text you a phone emoji, I'm dialed in.
But I do think when you don't miss starts throughout your entire career, even into the league that's, let's face it, not quite as physical, the 85 Bears aren't walking through that door. It does mean that, like, you are a dependable player.
Well, I do think it's one of to transition the conversation. I'll say this about Trey Lance. Like, I don't think Trey Lance has to be some Pro Bowl level player for the quarterback for the Niners to win this year, but I do think he's got to be available. And I do want, it is one of my questions of the 2022 San Francisco 49ers. Will Trey Lance start every game? Will he be healthy enough to start every game? That's one of my questions. If you said, let's just make a list of questions, it's not some top 10, just let's all the things we wonder about this Niner team. I don't wonder, honestly, is Debo going to be there week 1? I don't really wonder about that. Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to end up playing for them or be on the roster? I don't wonder about that. Is Trey Lance going to start every game, healthy enough to start every game? Without really thinking about the list, probably one of the top 5 questions I have. Probably a bigger question than, like, is Trey Lance going to throw at least 15 times? Whatever. Like, I think he's going to be fine enough for them to be competitive. How good he is, that's one of the biggest questions in the NFL this year. But is he healthy enough to just start every game? I think it's one of the major questions of this season. And it's not some indictment of him. It's just he didn't play a lot last year. He got hurt one of the times he played.
Well, you know what he feels like? In this, anyone listening that follows like a college program very closely, especially a big-time college football program, like whenever you get a new starter, like what's he going to look like? How's it going to go? And just like, is this guy going to be our guy for the next couple of years? And you don't truly know. Like, there's just a lot of wondering with this guy. It was like CJ Stroud. We're transitioning from Justin Fields. And then like 3 games in, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. Clemson is a good example. It's like, okay, we're always getting these 5 stars. It's like, this kind of sucks. Now, a lot of that's play related, right? They're usually just not, either good enough or you're not. With Trey, it's like, it's a double whammy. It's like, can he just play every game? And then like, can he just function when he's playing in the game? Like function at like a B plus level. Like you don't need to be Pro Bowler, but you need to be like a high level young guy immediately. Like a high level young guy. I don't think they could make the playoffs with him being like, if you just told me, give him a grade for the year and you're like, well, looking back, it was a C. Like, that's
but
not
do you
good.
agree he doesn't have to be an A level player?
You could argue he doesn't even need to be a B plus, but you have to be like B minus B with a couple A moments, couple C moments, young player, but you cannot just be flirting with below average.
The worst thing that could happen to them this year is that he's not healthy enough to figure out what you got. Right. And that
What's the number one component? Like how Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, you just eventually like you look, it's like, oh, he's already got 30 starts under his belt. Some of those guys, MVP immediately. Other guys like Herbert was just like kind of okay, it's goddamn. But it's like every game, you just know he's gonna be there. He had a couple stinkers. I bet I know for a fact, because I remember he had a game where he threw a bunch of picks. It happens. I guess football.
well,
But it's
Mahomes
like,
has multiple playoff games with multiple interceptions. Did it in the Super Bowl, won the game.
You throw picks, whatever. Picks don't bother me. What does
Depends
bother
on
me
the
is
kind
like,
of picks.
well, yeah, I mean, an individual pick in a game, a situation, but overall, like if you told me he throws 12 picks, like, you can't do, no, yeah, you can. It happens. What bothers me is like, yeah, he missed 7 games this year. That's a fucking disaster. You know, like I was thinking today or the other day, like I remember Kyler missed some time last year, was injured, missed games. I mean, hell,
Their
Colt
season
McCoy
fell
lit up
apart
the
when he got
Niners.
hurt, John. He got hurt against the Packers. They were undefeated. They lost, and the whole thing fell apart.